Are you trying to live up to being like your mom? Are you trying to live up to what society paints as a great mom? Because if that's the case, I invite you to challenge that and think about what's our vision for our family? Because I'm betting you burning out, you feeling frustrated, you not taking care of yourself and putting yourself last, feeling like you have to do it all, is not a part of that solution. That's the fastest way for no one to enjoy being around you and even you feeling sick of yourself. Welcome to the Marriage and Motherhood podcast. I'm your host, Michelle Perda. As a marriage coach who's been through and still going through the trenches of motherhood myself, I get it. Life gets busy and sometimes your relationship takes a backseat. But guess what? You can feel like a couple while raising kids, and I'm here to help. Join me each week here as we dive into the messy but fulfilling world of marriage and motherhood. From navigating conflict to reigniting that spark, we're going to chat about it all. So, if you're juggling mom life with wife life, this podcast is for you. And hey, if you love what you hear, I'd be so grateful if you could rate and review this podcast on your favorite podcast platform. Here's this week's episode. Hello, welcome back to another episode of the Marriage and Motherhood podcast. I am so excited to be here. I wanted to drop a really powerful perspective shift for you that changed my life for the better. It was hard to implement, I have to admit, but ever since looking at life this way, my choices this way, I have been able to be more intentional about how I choose my experience, how I design it when it comes to marriage, motherhood, just life in general. Now, today's topic is about a massive perspective shift that I really needed at the beginning of my journey when I became a mom, when I became a wife. Something about the journey of that transition, of switching roles, of just being a woman to fulfilling these roles as a spouse, as a mom, that has us almost sabotaging ourselves into not caring for ourselves anymore. Okay? Self-care is such an important aspect of our lives to the point where if we're not doing it, we are setting ourselves up for a negative experience, for burnout, for frustration, for endless arguments, taking things personally, for things that leave us not wanting to hang out with our spouse because we don't have the energy and we don't have the motivation or the desire. Okay, whether that's physically hanging out by having sex or whether that's hanging out for quality time. Now, I'm hearing from too many moms out there saying, I just don't have it in me at the end of the day. I'm tired from working, doing housework, meal prepping, taking care of the kids, all of that. And I honestly don't have time to plan to do something with him, to hang out and do more than just watch a show. All I want to do is just go on my phone or watch my own show and be in silence. Okay? Now, I am an advocate for taking your you time. But if your marriage is a priority to you, which I'm hoping it is, right? Like you got married because you wanted your relationship to go to the next level, to deepen, to raise a family with this person, for you to receive endless amounts of satisfaction being in this marriage. You wanted it to grow. And now, fast forward, you have kids. And now you can't even fathom having the time, the energy to hang out. And so, where does that leave your marriage? Without that connection being nurtured, being prioritized, that relationship, if you haven't noticed already, if you're not already experiencing it, that connection is going to dwindle down. It's going to decrease. And you're going to find yourself having a harder time communicating, having a harder time resolving issues together, handling challenges together, being a team together. And you're going to notice that you're going to start nitpicking each other more. You're going to start having these conversations where you're taking things more personally, all because you're not taking care of yourself. So, in a previous episode, I shared what real self care was. So, if you haven't checked that out, please go check that out, okay? Because just Cliff Notes version, self care is more than and beyond the luxurious, indulgent activities that we traditionally think of self care being, like the massages, like the spa visits, okay? Self care is about taking an active role in protecting your well being, protecting it, not in a reactive way, right? But being proactive about it. So when you don't do that, when you're not being an active participant in your own life, in making sure that you're set up to be the person that you want to be for your family, the connected wife that enjoys her husband's company, that enjoys conversation, that can come together as a team to resolve issues together, to have fun together, right? And the mom who is present, patient, kind, playful, there, right? Not just physically there doing things for them, but actually engaging with them and having that quality time together to build that relationship. When self care isn't a foundation in your lifestyle, instead of that beautiful imagery, you end up feeling burnt out, frustrated, you're irritable, you're serious all the time, and then you feel guilty about being that way, right? So it's like this cycle that leaves you not winning. It leaves you feeling like, gosh, how do I get out of this? What feels like a rat race or like this hamster wheel where I'm doing all these things, but I'm not getting ahead. I don't feel like the life that we're living is how I want to experience it, where I go to work and I do that and I come back home and it's just like, well, where's the connection? If this is you, I've been there. And sometimes I find myself getting back into that mode and I have to snap right out of it, right? So I wanted to share with you something that has been helpful for me to get back on track, to realign to the vision I have for my family. Having dedicated time to connect with my husband, to nurture our marriage, having dedicated time with my kids as a family to nurture our connection and not feel like every day is just like rinse and repeat. Same thing every day. We're not really making moves or progress in deepening our relationship as a family. Because connection really is the foundation of all relationships. And if we're not building on that, we're kind of just doing life unintentionally. And time is just passing, but we have nothing to receive from it, right? Don't you want your time spent with your family to actually add on to your experience, for it to be a positive experience, to create positive memories? I'm not saying all the time, obviously. We have things to do, we have responsibilities to handle, but it doesn't mean that our entire life has to be responsibility. Like, that's a terrible, boring, stressful way to live. When we prioritize connection, whether it's with your husband, whether it's with your kids, that's what helps us ride the waves that come along with life. It helps us carry through the challenges, right? Like, kids are challenging, let's be honest here, right? And marriage can be too. And when we have that solid connection where we're constantly nurturing it and spending time together, having conversations, getting to know each other, showing that we care, that's what makes those challenges a little less difficult, a little more manageable. Okay? It gives us the energy, the compassion, and the understanding to be able to navigate all of that. Okay? And so the question that I want to offer you as a perspective shift is, have to and choose to. Do you have to do the things that you think you have to, or are you choosing to? Okay? I have talked to countless moms, and I've experienced this myself countless times where I feel like I am really busy, right? We have almost like glorified busyness in motherhood, which I'll say is martyrdom. Okay. Our parents did that, right? Like our moms did that, their moms did that. If we're productive, then we're being a good mom. If we're filling our calendars, we are being a good mom. If we're doing all of the things from scratch, if we're taking them to all the things, saying yes to all the things, we are a good mom. And the same thing happens at home too, right? Like how sometimes you might think that you have to do certain things, but really your husband is willing to, but you signed up for it because either you feel like you don't want to bother him, or you do it better, or you just assume the role. And that's just what it is now, right? Maybe they were sick for a week and you took over, but then it never went back. Okay. There are various reasons why this type of thing happens. And asking myself in those moments where I feel frustrated, resentful for all the things that I have on my plate. And I feel like, gosh, why is it so uneven? Why does it feel like I am doing everything? Okay. And I'm using feel intentionally because sometimes we discount what our spouses do. Sometimes we weigh what we do more heavily and we're blind to, or we choose to ignore all the things that they do, right? Especially when we're in that mode where we feel resentful and frustrated and we feel like things are off balance. Our brains love to ignore evidence that disputes that, right? So the thought is like, I do everything. Any thought of them doing anything pitching in is no longer a thought. They just don't do anything. It's very absolute in that way. But that's where that question comes into play, right? Do I have to do this, or am I choosing to do this? And it could be the task in general, or it could be how you're doing the task. Are you overcomplicating things? Who says you have to do it that way? Who says that you have to be the one to do it? Oftentimes I found myself answering, no one said that. I said that. Well, why am I doing that to myself? Right? It's so important to check ourselves. And this question of, do I have to? Or am I choosing to? That brings so much perspective to how we approach life as a wife, as a mom, as a woman, and our own beliefs on what it means to play these roles for ourselves. Are you trying to live up to being like your mom? Are you trying to live up to what society paints as a great mom? Because if that's the case, I invite you to challenge that and think about, what is it that we want to build together? What's our vision for our family? And how does what we each do, the roles that we each play, how we contribute to this vision as a family, kids included, husband included, how does that play out? Because I'm betting you burning out, you feeling frustrated, you not taking care of yourself and putting yourself last, feeling like you have to do it all, is not a part of that solution. That's the fastest way for no one to enjoy being around you, and even you feeling sick of yourself. Like, I definitely felt sick of myself. Like, oh my gosh, I am not fun to be around right now. If I were my kids, I would be hiding in my room. If I were my husband, I would be walking away, right? I hated feeling like my family had to walk on eggshells around me. And so I really had to take a look at, okay, what am I doing here that I have control over? So that's where this question comes into play. Do I have to, or am I choosing to? So I want to offer you this opportunity to seriously challenge the way you're doing things. If you're saying, well, I have too much on my plate, that's what's stopping me from caring for myself. I have to do it all. I have mom guilt. I want you to play out if you continue to not care for yourself, right? Will you have guilt over how you're showing up? And can you weigh the difference? Would you have more guilt taking a moment for yourself or making better decisions that are more aligned with what real self-care is? Or would you have more guilt over who you're being when you're not taking care of yourself? Okay, that's all I got for you today. I would love to hear what this shift does for you, because for me, it really helped me turn everything upside down and really just be like, okay, how am I choosing to live life right now? And is this aligned with the type of mom I want to be, the type of wife I want to be, the life I want to experience? And the answer was no. And so even now to this point, I'm still questioning myself. Anytime I feel an inkling of frustration or resentment, I ask myself, do I have to, or am I choosing to? Is this way of living something I unintentionally signed up for? And if that's the case, what can I do about it? Okay? It all starts with you. As soon as you incorporate self-care, and this line of questioning is a form of self-care for you. But as soon as you develop that lifestyle of self-care, loving yourself, making yourself a priority, that's when everything else gets to be easier. The communication, the partnership, life. So let me know how this goes. I would love to hear. And if you have any questions, let me know that as well. I would love to help you out with this. And if you're noticing that your relationship with your husband feels really hard and you have nowhere to go, you don't know what to do next, you're lacking that clarity, and you just desperately want to get back to that place where you guys are getting along again, where you want to hang out together. You know you love each other, but it's really hard right now, and you kind of don't like each other very much right now. And you know that there has to be a different way. I invite you to reach out to me to talk about whether coaching is right for you. Okay. I offer one-on-one coaching with you as the mom, and I also work with you two as a couple, the parents. Okay. I am here for you. I want nothing but the best for you. And I'll catch you back here next week. Bye. That's it for this episode. If you enjoyed this episode and you'd like to help support the podcast, please subscribe and leave a rating and review. I would so appreciate that. And if you love what I share here, then you're going to love and want to join my free private Facebook community that's also called Marriage and Motherhood. I hope to see and connect with you in there. Otherwise, I'll catch you back here next week for the next episode. Bye.